Today is a celebration for three reasons. First of all, Jesus is King of the universe because he created it and he rules it with love. Second, Jesus is our King because he laid down his life for us so that we might come back to the Father. And third, after a month of talking about Jesus' love for us, we've talked about the relationship diagram, where he is in our lives. We have a chance today to state, is Jesus the center of our life? Now remember, this doesn't mean there's pressure. You don't want to do this or give an answer to please people. We just want to speak the truth. But because Jesus says that we should never be afraid to be his followers, we're not ashamed to just put up our hand and say, no, he's the center of my life, especially here amongst our brothers and sisters. So today, in a minute, I'm just going to ask you three questions, as I've done last year and the year before. First question I'm going to ask is, put up your hand if Jesus is the center of your life. Second question would be, if he is the center, if you've made that decision in the past 12 months, put up your hand. We want to see if we're growing. And third, if Jesus is not the center of our life, put up your hand if you would like him to be the center. Yes, we're clear? Okay, let's do it. So put up your hand if you've made Jesus the center of your life. Oh, there you go. Good for you too. You can sit down. I like the enthusiasm. Now, if you've made Jesus the center of your life in the past 12 months, put up your hand, please. Okay, I'm not going to look, but God bless you. Don't want to embarrass anyone. And third, if Jesus is not the center of your life, put up your hand if you'd like him to be. You don't have to be ashamed or afraid. Okay, God, good for you. Thank you, everyone. God bless you. Okay, today's gospel. It has practical implications for us no matter what we've chosen. Jesus says, when the Son of Man, Jesus, comes in his glory, and all the angels with him, then he will sit on the throne of his glory. St. Cyril of Jerusalem says there are two comings of Christ. The first when he came as a baby and then died on a cross. The second will happen in the future when he comes again in glory. The first coming was about patience. He's very patient with us. The second coming, he won't be patient. He wants to have a decision. In the first coming, Jesus allowed himself to be judged. Isn't that interesting? Jesus let humanity judge him. We put him on trial and we killed him. In the second coming, we judge him. In the second coming, he will judge us. He continues, all the nations will be gathered before him, and he will separate people one from another as a shepherd separates the sheep from the goats. Okay, so the separation is judgment. So why does Jesus judge every person? You know the answer? It's because he died for every person. And he wants to know if we will love him in return. So he's going to judge every person's love. Every person's love. He continues, then the king will say to those at his right hand, come, you that are blessed by my Father, inherit the kingdom. For I was hungry and you gave me food. I was thirsty and you gave me something to drink. I was a stranger and you welcomed me. I was naked and you gave me clothing. I was sick and you took care of me. I was in prison and you visited me. Truly I tell you, just as you did it to one of the least of these brothers and sisters of mine, you did it to me. Two things to note about these words. If we've made Jesus the center of our life, do we still have to follow his commandments? Yes, of course. So we don't want to fall into the trap of saying, hey, he's the center of my life. I don't actually have to do anything. That's enough, right? So that would be kind of like an abuse of his love. Second, if we haven't made Jesus the center of our life, do we still have to follow his commandments? Yes, right? Because we still have to do what is right. So Jesus is just being very clear with us because he doesn't want us to take his love for granted. But following up on that point, what if all of us here were to volunteer at a soup kitchen and donate all of our money to help people who are in need and do all these good things but don't believe in Jesus? Would we still go to heaven? Right. No. The answer is no. Why? Hang on. If I do all these good things and help people, why wouldn't I go to heaven? Why? Because the first commandment is to love God. The first commandment is not to love people or to be nice. First commandment is to love God. And Jesus says many times that you have to believe in him. One time he actually says, this is the work of God. If you want to know what you have to do, believe in him, he says. What do you think about parents who love their kids? They give a home for their kids. They drive their kids to all the activities, even give them money, but never spend time with them. Would that be heaven? Obviously not. What do you think about kids who do everything their parents say? They obey all their rules, but actually don't love their parents. The same idea. You can't just say you do all these good things for God, but don't love him. Doesn't work like that. It reminds me of a joke about a wife who said to her husband, she said, how come you don't tell me you love me anymore? And he said, well, I told you on our wedding day. I'll let you know if anything changes. Jesus continues, then he will say to those at his left hand, you that are accursed, depart from me into the eternal fire prepared for the devil and his angels. For I was hungry, and you gave me no food. I was thirsty, and you gave me nothing to drink. I was a stranger, and you did not welcome me, naked, and you did not give me clothing, sick and in prison, and you did not visit me. Then they also will answer, Lord, when was it that we saw you hungry or thirsty or a stranger or naked or sick or in prison and did not take care of you? And these will go away into eternal punishment, but the righteous into eternal life. Notice that they're surprised that they actually separated themselves from Jesus because of their sins of omission. They didn't realize they had all these opportunities, but because of what they didn't do, they go to hell. We also want to note that eternal fire, eternal punishment mean forever. So there's no second chance to love Jesus once we die. We are judged by Jesus. He judges our love at the moment of death. So what does that mean? It means we can't wait forever to make a decision. There is this human tendency in all of us to procrastinate, just to put things off, and just to delay. So Jesus, because he knows this, he doesn't want us to delay the decision forever. So I'm trying to strike a balance here. I'm trying to be really loving, but I'm also trying to be really clear. You can't feel pressure to love Jesus, because if you feel pressure, that goes against love. Love cannot be pressured. But at the same time, you can't wait forever. So for example, if we've said for the past, let's say 3 years, I want Jesus to be the center of my life, I hope we're making progress. I hope you're just not saying that and not just like staying lukewarm and not making any, you're not even trying. Be careful of that. There are times in our life when you have a big question to wrestle with. There will be a time in your life when you'll probably say, what am I waiting for? So 2 times in my life that happened to me. When Jesus first asked me to be a priest, he asked me to be celibate. I had to think about it for a few years. And then a few years later, I realized, what am I waiting for? I know what I have to do. A few years later, I thought about being a Jesuit priest or a Benedictine monk because those things really attracted me. But then I realized he's calling me to be a diocesan priest. And then I thought, what am I waiting for? I have to sign up. So I just want everyone to be really clear. You have freedom. There's no pressure. But at the same time, eventually, you have to make a decision. Yeah? Okay. So today, if we could just do one thing, please. Could you please pass out these cards? They're at the end of your pews, please. Could you pass them to the people next to you? Sorry, those cards. So on these cards, as we mentioned, you get to circle which of the relationship diagram represents your relationship with Jesus. Is he the center of your life? Is he the center of your life, a part of your life, or is he outside of your life? You can also write down if he's not currently the center, would you like him to be? And finally, if you like, you can write down your name. You can be bold and let us know. Also, the reason why we're doing this for the first time is because we realize we want to see if our parish is growing. Because could you imagine if every year the number of people who make Jesus center of their life goes down? That'd be bad. So we just want to know what's going on, okay? So you've got your pens, you can fill that out. Now, sorry to interrupt, I know you're having fun with your cards and your pens. If I can just finish off this great homily, that's okay. Okay, so just give me 1 minute just to finish. The most famous psychologist in the world right now, most famous, is Jordan Peterson, the Canadian. He is not Catholic, but he said this about Catholicism.
Catholicism, I've gone through lots of Catholic cathedrals in Europe, and of course they're stunning creations, but they're Gothic and strange, and the doctrine is eerie and complex and surreal, and the biblical writings are the same. You think of a book like Revelation, for example. But I think that the Catholicism, that's as sane as people can get. Broadly speaking, is that we need a metaphysic, a narrative metaphysic to hold us together. And it has to be predicated on something that's transcendent and absolute. And if you lose that, then you'll fall for something else. You'll fall for something else. Or you'll fall for nothing, which is no better. And I learned that from reading Nietzsche, and I learned that from reading Dostoevsky.
So amazing words from Jordan Peterson, not Catholic. He says Catholicism is as sane as you can get. Basically, you could say the equivalent. He's thinking it's the best religion, best philosophy. Okay. He's not Catholic, but he's on his journey towards Jesus. He hasn't yet made a choice, but he will make the choice when the time is right. Now, interestingly, his wife, Tammy, announced last month on social media that she's becoming Catholic. She's in RCIA. She's going to become Catholic at Easter. Now, in the article about her decision, she revealed that before she married Jordan, he asked her, "Will you commit to telling the truth?" That's interesting. Can you imagine asking your future spouse, "I'll marry you on condition that you commit to telling the truth"? She went away for a year and thought about that question. And then she came back, she said, "Yes, I will commit. I'm promised to be rooted in a marriage anchored in truth." But here's my point. He asked her a really important question. He didn't put pressure on her. He gave her time, but he didn't wait forever. Now, interestingly, 8 years ago, Tammy Peterson, she got cancer, and she was given 10 months to live. But through the help of a Catholic friend, she started praying the rosary, she changed her diet, and on the 5th day of a novena to Saint Jose Maria Escrivá, quote, "The doctors discovered that the cancer had resolved itself on its own and the surgery was canceled." So Tammy Peterson's journey to Jesus has taken 62 years. That's great. But eventually she made a choice. So Jesus says to every person, "I have made you the center of my life." And without pressure, he wants to know when we will do the same.